Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This is Sam, and in today's video we're going to talk about AWS ECS and how to monitor and secure containers that are using ECS as an orchestrator. I have a few folks that have asked what things look like inside of the Sysdig UI when you're monitoring ECS, so we're going to do that today and look at the containers that are running, the EC2 instances that are hosting these containers, get some visibility into that. Also take a look at the image scanning piece and how that looks in Sysdig Secure. We were going to be using a WordPress app to demonstrate what we have today. So let's do it. All right, so now we got the Amazon ECS Console, and here I've got one cluster, just called it default, and in this default cluster for ECS I have 3 EC2 instances running, as you can see, and I've got a task that's running, which is basically the Sysdig agent running on all 3 EC2 instances. Let's take a quick look at this particular task. You can see here in the JSON the definition of the task. It's basically running a Sysdig container on each one of those EC2 instances that make up my ECS cluster. Alright, and as you can see, you have very basic metrics here. And if we were to look at this in CloudWatch, I built 2 simple dashboards. Looking at ECS specific metrics, I get these 4 metrics from CloudWatch. And if I were to, I chose one of the EC2 instances that I have out of the 3, and you can see some of the basic metrics that CloudWatch gives us. Now if we dig into Sysdig Monitor for a minute here, we can see that I've enabled, we've discovered the infrastructure. I have a few clusters, Kubernetes clusters, but I've also enabled my Amazon Web Services integration with CloudWatch, so I can grab metrics from CloudWatch and integrate those metrics directly with the system call metrics that we're capturing from the Sysdig agent running on these EC2 instances. Now the first view I want to show you is the hosts and container view, and specifically with container images in here. I created this view myself, and what it gives you is all the host names that we have, and also the container images inside of those host names. In our case, we've got these 3 EC2 instances that make up our ECS cluster, and as you can see, the containers running in here, the ECS agent on all 3, and also the Sysdig agent on all 3. Now this last host here, I've run a Docker Compose for 2 containers to run my WordPress app. You can see the database here is MySQL, and I've got my WordPress container as well. Now I've taken this, if you're interested, I'll post this in the video notes for this particular WordPress app. You can use this Docker Compose file, and away you go. Now the app itself, very basic. You've got, here's the basic hello world that you get when you install WordPress on this site, and you can see it's accessible on this public IP on port 8000, and you can go ahead and play around with this WordPress app. But for our case here, we see the different views on Sysdig Monitor. We can take a look at ECS itself, the view from ECS. You can see the default cluster name. That's the cluster name I'm using for my ECS instances. And under that, the next level of hierarchy is the task family name. You can see I've named this SamG Sysdig agent for the agent that's running, and it's not applicable for the actual containers that are running in here. And you can see these are, here's my WordPress app and the ECS agent list and ECS agent container as well. Another view that's also of interest is looking at things from Docker Compose perspective. You can see the Docker Compose project, and the next level hierarchy is the service. So we've got 2 services, database and WordPress, and under each one of those is a container ID. And once again, you can change this container ID to perhaps container image to give you something that makes a little bit more sense. And you can save this as a new grouping and also share that new grouping with different team members. Now, if we were to go and take a look at, let's say, hosting container images, and here's my EC2 instance that has the WordPress app. I'm presented with a number of dashboards of interest. What I'll do, I'll start off with the topology view. So kind of give you an idea what things look like in Sysdig Monitor when you're looking at containers running in ECS. So in this case, I can see here's my Sysdig agent. I can see the WordPress container, and inside the WordPress container, I can see the Apache 2 process running, and also the MySQL container with the MySQL daemon running, and you can see the response time between the front end and the back end right on the arrow here. Now, in addition to this, I'd like to note that you can see different external services that are being accessed from within my cluster. Some of these are coming straight from WordPress. If you expand any of these, it gives you the IP address of each one of those external services. It's important to have a view into this to understand what exactly your application is doing, and from a security point of view, understand if it's something that it should be doing and reaching out to external services, if this is normal or not. So that kind of gives you a topology map of everything that's running on this particular EC2 instance and how the different containers are connecting or talking to each other. You can change the response times to network traffic or CPU usage, for example. Now, in addition to that, you can also look at application-specific metrics. So here I'm looking at HTTP metrics, so I can see request counts, if there were any HTTP errors, maximum request time, plot the average and maximum request time over time, endpoints, so I can see the slowest URLs, top URLs by number of requests, status codes, and request types over time, like get, post, and so on. I can also take a look at the database side of things. I have a MySQL database here, so I can see the same kind of golden signals, how many errors, number of requests, request time. But I can also dig deeper and see the tables that I have here, and the queries by number of requests, and also what are my slowest queries. You can see this one is the slowest at 54 milliseconds, and the slowest tables as well, and request times over time, the different query statements that I have. Of course, you can pivot over and take a look at your overview by container, so I can see all my containers and the performance of these containers and all the metrics that come with that. And I can view things from a host perspective as well, give me an overview of this particular host that I have. So definitely a lot more metrics than what you get just from looking at CloudWatch. Now, we've also integrated CloudWatch metrics as well, so you can go here and switch over to AWS services EC2 as opposed to Sysdig agents that we have right now. And when we do that, we're presented with all the AWS instances that I have in this cluster. Now, if I were to go and look for the specific one that I have, and let's go quickly. Here's the EC2 instance that I'm interested in. I'll go back and search that. Hit filter it. So now I'm presented with a basic EC2 overview dashboard, and of course you can add more metrics to it. So looking at IOPS, disk throughput over time, network traffic, and CPU. We have a few metrics as well that we're capturing from CloudWatch that you can also add as tiles onto this dashboard. And you can save this dashboard, copy this dashboard into a new dashboard or an existing dashboard in your environment. Now, pivoting over to Sysdig Secure, let's take a look at what we see on the Sysdig Secure side for containers running in ECS. So we don't have any policy events in the last minute, but as you can see here, browsing by hosts and containers, I see my 3 EC2 instances. As you can tell, the exact same view we saw earlier on the monitor side. Here's the instance that has the WordPress app. If we pivot over to the image scanning side, we can look at in runtime. And here you can see the 4 images that I have for the 4 containers that are running on this particular EC2 instance, and they're passing the image scan. To choose one of them, let's say WordPress, you can view that it's passed. It has 27 warnings, 476 vulnerabilities. You can see the level of those vulnerabilities, whether high, low, medium, and you can see the policies that we've evaluated against. All the operating system vulnerabilities are shown here. We don't have any non-operating system vulnerabilities. And you can see more content here. So the licenses that are used and the packages and the versions that we have. Well, this is the end of this video. And to recap, we were able to see ECS, how we can monitor and secure containers that are running on EC2 instances and orchestrated or managed by ECS inside of Sysdig. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you, and I'll catch you in another video.